Hey, everybody. I hope you're having a wonderful holiday season if you celebrate. I'm going to be doing a little bit of a AMA, an Ask Me Anything if you're unfamiliar. The other day, I sent out a tweet, I don't know what you call it on Blue Sky, a community post saying that, I've been working on some of my goals for 2025 for this channel. And I feel like over time, somehow I've become, or rather, Super Derek has become more of a personality than a person. And I want to be a person to you guys. I'm a real boy. uh, I haven't read all of these, but I'll try my best to respond to all of them. So this could be a little bit of a long video, but I kind of want to just be more casual and open with everybody on this channel. And I don't think that I've necessarily been guarded or duplicitous in any sort of way. Just when you're around a lot of strangers, you tend to act a little differently. You want to put your best foot first. Um, and and I don't want to treat y'all like strangers. I think that that's one of the things that I always tried to achieve is some sort of sense of friendship and I know that not everybody in the comments is going to be friends with each other as much as I would love that to be the case. I'm rambling. Let's go ahead and respond to some of these comments or questions that I got. Timothy Deal says, now you got me curious. What's the biggest difference between Super Derek and regular Derek? When I first started my channel, the idea of Super Derek wasn't necessarily that I am more super than myself. It was a name that rolled off the tongue and to me sounded memorable. That was like the idea. I wanted to be maybe a slightly better version of my normal self. And over time, it's interesting. I was very introverted. I still am, but I was introverted too. Rest in peace, Mitch Hedberg. I am much better at pretending to be an extrovert these days, but I am pretty well introverted. And the act of creating my YouTube channel has done a really good job of teaching me how to present myself, speak more confidently, and look at the camera a little more often. Stop looking down at the script. If you watch my very first video where I reviewed Earthbound, you could definitely tell that the super in Super Derek was much more aspirational. So over time, that that chasm has closed. So as of right now, the difference between Super Derek and regular Derek, the person that's on the camera versus off the camera, person off camera probably cusses a lot more. Truth be told, it's not that I'm anti-cursing or anything. I just feel like if I'm trying to speak about a video game and tell you why it's good or why it's bad, using curse words is sort of a crutch. And also, there's that advertiser friendliness aspect of things. So those are probably some of the bigger differences. Other differences include, like, just my current aversion to speaking about politics and stuff on the channel. That's never going to be a thing here. Away from YouTube, uh, yeah, I got opinions. I just don't share them if I can. I try not to. Sometimes they slip through, and I try my best to not be exclusive to people because at the end of the day, it's all RPGs that we're here for, and if we can at least connect on that one thing, then maybe we can find some common ground elsewhere, right? Maybe. That's lofty, you know. that's that's not going to happen here. We're not solving world peace on this YouTube channel, but at least, and do not talk about politics here, please. At least we'll have one little microcosm of the internet in the comment section where we can just enjoy something and be happy for a while. Those are probably the biggest ways in which Super Derek is different from regular Derek or normal Derek or myself, whoever I am. Existential crisis incoming in 3, 2. Mars says, "What game deeply hurt me and what game deeply saved me?" Deeply Hurt is a lot easier to remember, and that would be Persona 3's The Answer. That game, that expansion of the story of Persona 3, on PlayStation 2, it was painful in a few ways because, not only was the gameplay, I felt, stacked unfairly, but also it felt like the characterization was a bit of a slap in the face for all of the work that I, as a protagonist in Persona 3, put into developing the characters of all my friends and stuff. It all just kind of came crumbling down at the start of the sequel, and or not sequel, but the follow up campaign. And some people are fine with it. I was not one of those people who was fine with it. It really bugged me. So it was a combination of those two factors that I think made this one of the first games that I was just really like, I can't recommend it to consider adding it to their game collection, you know. As far as a game that deeply saved me, I've led a relatively charmed life. In that I can't really complain about a lot of things that happened. I haven't found myself in too many dark places. Um, well, maybe until recently. But when I'm in that dark place, I don't really feel much like playing games. So, um, games that saved me is really tough. I would lean toward Earthbound. I mean, it's such a low-hanging fruit response because it was the first RPG that the first real turn-based RPG that really clicked for me. Um, and I've told the story, more times than I can count. Probably more times than I've played Earthbound. Um, but I've talked about it a lot before. Earthbound really did send me off in a different path in life. Without Earthbound, there's probably no Super Derek. And Super Derek has definitely saved me from discontentness. One of the reasons I created my YouTube channel in the first place all those years ago, 2013, 11 years ago, going on 12, um, was because I needed a creative outlet, and that's one of the reasons I put so much work and art and set design into something that is essentially a fast food burger. You guys aren't coming to watch my channel for cinematic masterpiece or anything. And I need to internalize that sometimes and stop putting my content on a pedestal. But one of the things is that this is one of my few ways of really being able to be creative and do things that are of a creative nature. I've got a deep-seated yearning to be creative. Uh, and sometimes that manifests in like creating props like the Olivier's gun, for instance, from Trails in the Sky, or creating this set. And it's a little bit messy in here because I'm rearranging because I had a little scratch in the back of my brain where I'm like, I need to do something. And I had this idea and it manifested and now I have the shelf behind the presentation desk and I think it looks awesome. Um, the rest of my room here looks like a mess. All of that is to say, um, Super Derek is probably what saved me, and Earthbound is the game that led me to donning the moniker. I'll go with that. Interesting question there, Mars. Andrew says, "What's a hobby you enjoy outside of gaming?" Well, like I guess I kind of just talked about my artistic endeavors, um, but I'm also into computers and I've got a little home lab. I have a I have a little '90s room in my basement that I've hobbled together. I'm a very shoddy woodworker. I I all I have is a chop saw and a drill, but I'd make what I can. Um, and it's all, it's fun. I like fixing things and restoring things. Uh, so there's a lot of things in here. In fact, like these shelves that hold all my video games, those were Goodwill finds that were in rough shape, and I was able to um, kind of restore their luster, and I'm very proud of how that came out. Um, and I really like all of the behind the scenes stuff of production. One of the reasons I have a server is so that I can record things directly to the server and then edit video from that server and streamline the process of creating videos. And sometimes it's a hobby in of itself, but like the efforts that I put into it, I don't know if like if I had applied that time to just making the videos themselves, I'd probably have twice as many videos. But that's a hobby, and I have to sort of learn to allow myself the luxury of letting my mind explore and wander, and that I think is one of those hobbies. It's several hobbies, I guess, that I've talked about. I actually have a collection of hobbies. Espresso is a relatively new hobby. Vinyl, I've just been collecting collections of hobbies at this point. Um, yeah. So this one comes from Nishquick, who says, have you been balancing gaming and content creation with your work and personal life over years? Or I'm sorry, how have you been? Balance is tough. It's definitely tough. It's helpful that I don't have any children. Um, that's one way in which I find like if I had children, my wife is incredible. She actually was a nanny for years and years when we lived in Seattle. She would be an incredible mother. Uh, and I feel like I would also be an incredible father. And if I were to become a father, I would absolutely prioritize that over everything else. I would probably have to stop making videos, just because that's how seriously I would take it. Having a full time job and then second full time job of doing YouTube is a lot to ask of anyone, unless you really get a lot of joy out of that second job. And I like to think that I do most days. So balancing though is tough, and that's something that I've been trying to locate, find that balance over the last year or so. And one of the things that's kind of suffered as a result has been this channel, as I've been finding that I need to work a bit more towards bringing balance to um, spending time with Amy. She's incredible, but she also has some mental health stuff that she struggles with, and she wouldn't mind me talking about this. We find that talking about mental health is good, and if you are depressed or if you have various things that you struggle with, if you might be depressed, it's worth talking to a doctor about. Anyways, I was for a long while prioritizing her, and I feel like that's normal. You should. That's something that you should do for your wife. Um, she's coming to a better place. We're finding better balance, and that's freeing me up again to do other things. Yeah, it's not one of those sorts of things that I can just say, step one, do this, step two, do that. It's really much more of a experiment with it and adjust. You got to adjust as you go. You, that's really the only real advice that I can give about finding it. It's because it's going to be different for everybody. If you followed my schedule, you would be so unhappy. If I followed your schedule, I would be unhappy. We got to find what works for us all and take cues from other people and see how they're doing. And hopefully, what I'm really hoping to achieve at some point, I do like my job. The people I work with at my day job are A tier. No, S tier. I'm surprised that I found a company this good in Kansas when I moved here. I got incredibly lucky. But at the end of the day, the only way that I'll be able to strike a true balance is if this YouTube thing can become my permanent real day job, the kind of job that I have for 8 hours a day during the day, leave, and then spend time with my wife. And I think that that's what ideally I would like to be able to do. There's only a handful of ways that I'll be able to realistically accomplish that, especially with the way that YouTube is, and Twitch streaming is. And by the way, I plan to return to streaming on Twitch soon. Twitch.tv/SuperDerek RPGs. Realistically, the only way to be safe that way is to have a diverse source of revenue streams. Uh, something from maybe shop.superderekrpgs.com, where you can get yourself a Hype Responsibly shirt, or a Patreon. And that's something that honestly I've been neglecting to handle appropriately these last few months, past few years, if I'm being brutally honest with myself. I need to figure out a way to give back to the people who've been supporting me, and I need to find a way to make that look attractive to new supporters as well. Um, so if you have ideas for things that you would like to see, maybe more casual, long conversations like this, um, let me know in the comments. This is going to be something it's gonna take some figuring out to do, but that's how ultimately I would like to eventually achieve some sort of balance, is to make it a job that I can step away from, instead of being the job that, if I still have energy for after the end of the day, to put in the effort. That's a goal that's a ways off, though. I think it's going to take some time, but we'll find it. And in the meantime, I will just maybe continue to treat YouTube as sort of a hobby that does pay some dividends sometime. Captain Gingerbeard says, I can identify with that. If you could marry a character from an RPG, who would you choose? This is, of course, the hypothetical situation. Pretend that you're in an alternate universe where you're not actually married, and where video game characters are real. Oh, it's very tricky, because, I mean, first, once you've found the perfect woman that you want to marry, what are the odds she's gonna find you good enough, right? So I guess we're just making all kinds of assumptions about our choices here. But I'll play along. I would have to probably lean a little toward Estelle Bright from Trails in the Sky. Um, Mostly because she's one of the few really well-developed RPG protagonist gals out there. She's a well-rounded character. Um, she's feisty enough that I wouldn't get too comfortable. And that's important. Having a little bit of energy sometimes is good, but she's also obviously very heartfelt at other times, and those are two qualities that I find admirable. Um, yeah, yeah, I'm gonna lean toward those for now. We'll just say Estelle Bright. All right, Brandon from Just the Gems, awesome YouTube channel. Make sure you guys check out Just the Gems. Says, what's been your biggest frustration as a creator on YouTube? About 2 years ago, um, there was a video that I did on HitPoint, the JRPG podcast, which has its own YouTube channel right now, by the way. If you're not familiar, go check it out. It's going to be me talking to Baku about the news a lot, um, about the JRPG and anime news and other forms of niche news. It's a great podcast. I really enjoy doing it. Um, but it's a long form content podcast. So, like, episodes are 2 to 3 hours a week. There was an episode about Tokyo Game Show, TGS. And I think that what we've realized, this video went viral, sort of. Have you heard of sleep content? There's this phenomenon on YouTube where, if you happen to fall asleep while listening to a video or something, it'll randomly serve you another video. Um, and if the stars align, one of your videos, probably a long one, will get served to someone who is asleep. And if they don't wake up throughout that video, that registers to YouTube as, hey, this person watched the whole thing. And that's fine. Um, and it's great. There's a whole genre of YouTube videos that are designed just to pop up while people are asleep and then rake in that sweet, sweet watch time and they blow up. It's this like it develops its own gravity. So that happened to this viral video that a lot of people slept through. Unfortunately, TGS, YouTube does not, in this instance, I don't think it recognizes that that is Tokyo Game Show. In this case, I think YouTube thinks it's a makeup company because there is a TGS makeup out there. And what this did is YouTube would serve my video to people who enjoy TGS makeup, maybe, or did some searches for it, which is the overlap. Let me tell you, the overlap of people who enjoy makeup and RPGs. I don't know if these circles could get any further apart. Okay, that's probably too broad of a statement. I'm sure that there are some people here who enjoy makeup too, but you're special, and thanks for being here. But but what happened is YouTube then thought that a lot of my viewers, a lot of the people who would want to see my videos, are those makeup enthusiasts, right? I've been piecing this together over a lot of time. So this is my working theory, is that for a while after that, my channel tanked badly, in a big way. And I think it's because when you upload a video to YouTube, it tries reaching out to a bunch of different people who've recently watched your content and see if they click. So, you, a makeup connoisseur, see a video pop up in your feed about RPGs. And you're like, what the heck is that? Scroll past. And that sends a negative signal to YouTube. Oh, oh, SuperDerek's makeup fan base are not interested in his RPG content. No. Um, yeah, this is a bad video. Let's just let that go. And so on, and so on, and so on. And that's one of the key reasons that I also went ahead and gave HitPoint its own channel, because before this, those episodes of HitPoint were getting 10,000 views. We were doing good. We got that one that almost hit 1 million views for whatever reason, and then tanks. So we're getting like 3,000 views now. This channel has been struggling to recover from that moment of virality, in which we were shown to a lot of irrelevant people, and YouTube no longer knows who my viewers are. A lot of people are slowly starting to find the channel again after a long time away. A lot of people are still congratulating me on the weight loss when they see me again, despite the fact that happened 4 years ago. Um, so, that's the sort of thing that's really frustrating. I've got 60 plus thousand subscribers, um, but not many of them are aware that I exist anymore. And some of that is definitely through some things that I've done, and some of it is definitely just because of YouTube's algorithm. There's definitely some churn, right? But some of that is just, I feel like, things beyond my control. And it would be really nice if there was just some way to send a message to every viewer that I've ever had and just say, hey, haven't seen you in a while. Thanks for watching some of my stuff, and I hope that maybe you could watch another video of mine someday, and see if you still like my content 7, 10 years later. I don't know. It's not a thing you can do on YouTube, unfortunately. But hey, that's one of my frustrations. Uh, is just being completely beholden to the almighty algorithm. Tyrone Wilson asks, How have you adjusted from moving from a large city, Seattle, to a smaller one, Manhattan, Kansas, in terms of game collecting? Have you found any pros or cons? It has been an adjustment for me, and thank you for the countless hours of entertainment and knowledge you have shared. Well, thank you, Tyrone. Uh, Thank you very much, especially for all of your support over the years. Moving from Seattle to Manhattan, Kansas, has definitely been an adjustment. And in terms of game collecting, it's like someone flipped a switch. There is nothing here, uh, and I mean that in a strange way. I feel like Seattle had a spirit of giving that is just not possessed here in Kansas. Um, a spirit of like, well, part of it is that Seattle has been relatively, or certain sections of Seattle have been relatively affluent for a long period of time. So a lot of the stuff that you could find there are like high quality things from a while ago, which is the kind of stuff I love. Stereo equipment, speakers, all kinds of old electronics. I love that stuff. Kansas is different. Manhattan, Kansas historically has a lot of population churn due to the local college and the nearby military base. So the people who live here are young and they don't really have a whole lot of means to them. So when they move away, a lot of times they'll maybe leave behind some of their furniture that's been beat up quite a bit, but then that just gets picked up by another college student, or left on a curb somewhere and then picked up by a college student. Like there's a lot of churn here in town. Video games, though, oh, everybody's looking for them. So no, you won't find them here. There is none of that. There is not even a local retro game shop. That whole retro collecting thing. I did go ahead and also say that I put that on hold entirely during the 2021. I have a video called "Why or Stopped Collecting Retro." I still collect modern, so I've still got my Switch collection that's slowly building, and PS4, PS5. But retro specifically, after that whole thing about WADA coming out, just put a really terrible taste in my mouth, especially around lockdown. Prices have slowly started coming back into reality. None of my collecting that I've started dipping my toes back into has occurred locally. I did find a Super Nintendo controller about a month ago at Goodwill. It was $9, and I was so excited I bought it. That's how That's how uncommon good game collecting is here in Manhattan, Kansas. It is bad. It's bad. It's awful. Fem Trooper. Hey, Paige. Everybody go check out Fem Trooper. She's awesome too. My question is simple. Why? Why do videos? Is it for the friendship? Is it for the creation? She says, I know I like doing it because I like having my own show and I like that people watch me, but I love the friendships that come from it. I mentioned before the creative outlet is a big part of it for me. Um, I was an artist, am an artist sometimes, occasionally, and this is a way for me to get a lot of those creative juices out and on the page, so to speak. There is also definitely some vanity to it. I think that in order to put yourself out there on YouTube and say, "Hey, everybody, look at me," you have to have some level of narcissism, and to think otherwise only proves it. To not have that self-awareness of it is just the cherry on top. But yeah, I wasn't drawn to the spotlight necessarily. I was drawn to the creative side of it. I was drawn to having a way to mark games off my backlog. Because I've said this a few times before, but like, who's gonna watch me re-review the same game 17 times in a row? Like this is the sort of thing that I forced myself into doing so that I could force myself to stop playing Chrono Trigger yet again, you know, and then move on and play a different game and expand my horizons. I am of a strong belief that the greatest JRPG that ever exists is a game that I have not yet played. And I think that with so many out there, it's a very strong possibility, and I want to find it. So, so yeah, having my own show, at this point, I've also been doing it for like 11 years. So at this point, some of it's ingrained in my personal identity of vision of who I am as a person, which is weird, but I do put so much everything of myself into this show. And that's why I want to stop being so I need to stop putting my own content up on a pedestal, you know? I just need to be more casual and talk to you guys. I know that a lot of you I assume that a lot of you like me. I have to assume that to some degree. That's why you're here. So I need to just stop making a mountain out of this and just make more videos and say hi and stop letting people forget that I exist because I haven't put out a video in 3 months, or stuff like that. There is some of the friendship, but honestly, uh, the friends that I make through YouTube uh, have been really wonderful. But the friends I think that I established through Twitch were stronger. Like I know so many of you just by the names of your handle and your profile photos and our constant interactions in the comments down below. Thank you guys. Without you, it would just be me. But like on Twitch, when I'm just rambling and chatting with people as I play a random game, it's wild to like get to know some people in a deeper level, and the names, like I still remember a lot of people, even though I haven't streamed on Twitch in like a year. I need to get back to it. I still need to finish Lufia. I feel so bad. It's such a good game, but it needs a resolution in my mind. Anyways, I like that more because even in the Discord where I can talk to people more, at a certain point, maybe it's social anxiety or something, but I just feel like there's so many people or so many things to catch up on, so many conversations that have occurred without me that I almost can't keep up, you know? But when it's on Twitch, those conversations are happening with me and in real time, and I can keep up. Um, for now, I don't know what I'm even gonna do when it comes to if it ever gets to the point where, chat is just cascading faster than I can read it. I hope that that never happens, because those friendships are just and I know I have to say friendships in, like, big air quotes because there's some of that parasocial stuff going on, right? Like, I still feel like I at least know some people in return as they know me, and those are really nice to be able to do that through Twitch, and so I do also really want to return to Twitch at some point, for those friendships. But yeah, YouTube is it's really just to scratch some other creative itches of mine, and I hope that other people like it. Gives me a little bit of the positive dopamine, endorphins, or whatever it is that says, "Hey, I did a good job. I can pat myself on the back." I hope that answers your question, Paige. Um, Dusty B, hey Dusty, says, "What has been the hardest part of doing videos? Is it coming up with ideas, motivation, trying to find the time, or just dealing with YouTube being YouTube?" And I actually started responding to this already, and I said that that could be a whole video all of its own. I think for the longest time, filming a video was the hardest part, just being on camera. It used to be such an endeavor, just setting up the camera, moving furniture around. Best piece of advice that I ever got was probably from Happy Console Gamer John. Hey John, I hope you're watching this. Love you, bud. He said that I needed to remove some barriers to the creative process. He showed me his setup where he just had the table, coffee table, set up a few feet away from a camera that had a shotgun microphone, and if he wanted to get in and record something, He just hit a couple switches and hit record, sat down, and he knocked it out. It's incredibly impressive that some people can just sit down and record a video in one take. I do not know how. I'm starting to figure out how some people can do that. I could never do that before. Um, I'm kind of doing that right now, I guess. The advice of removing barriers to creation resulted in this setup that I'm using right now. This is the current form. I'll probably do a room tour at some point, but I've been working on doing a lot of different things to streamline the creation process and make videos more easily. So it's no longer being on camera. Is it coming up with ideas? I have plenty of ideas to draw from. Not all of them are very good, or maybe the problem I have is that sometimes convincing myself that the idea is good enough to do can be the hard part. I might have a little bit of narcissism in me to be on a YouTube channel, but not enough to think that every idea that I have is worthy of actually filming and editing and releasing to everybody. I've definitely got some self-esteem stuff that I'm working through and working on. Also, the imposter syndrome is so real. Guys, I've been at this for going on 12 years, and I still feel like I have no idea about RPGs or video games. I'm just waiting for the other shoe to drop and y'all to realize that I'm just a big sham who's just here because I'm excited about RPGs. I, I always try to tell people, like, man, there are more games that I haven't played than games that I have. Like, if you're looking up at the night sky and you see a full moon, hey, let's not be too generous. You look up at the night sky, you see a half moon. The entire night sky represents the entirety of possible knowledge in JRPGs. That half moon, way off in the distance, represents knowledge that I'm confident in. I used to think that in order to have viewers on YouTube, you needed to be able to be authoritative or something. Um, you needed to be able to be the smartest or be the most knowledgeable. And as a result of that, I think one of the things that I tried to adopt early on was being able to speak authoritatively about things that I knew a little bit about. I'm not an expert in anything, guys. Like I know some stuff, but I'm just an enthusiast. Not a snob. Don't be a snob, be an enthusiast. Uh, you know, for instance, coffee snobs, they only like this one kind of bean from this one region of Costa Rica, and they only like it as a pour over, and if it's anything else, they can't enjoy it. That's a coffee snob. As a coffee enthusiast, oh man, you have coffee? Hell yeah, I'll drink some coffee. Thanks for the coffee. This is great. That's the kind of energy I want to bring to RPGs. And I guess the only thing that I can do is try to speak as clearly about my subjective experiences with games as I can. Talk about why I liked some stuff, why I don't. I won't pretend to have the most refined palette of RPG, whatever. Um, I'm definitely not a critic because I feel like critics are just looking for the negatives. And if you're always looking for the negatives, you're gonna find them, guys. That's my life pro tip. Look for the positives instead, and find things to enjoy. Look at things from the perspective of what joy can I take away from this experience, and that's what I want to really share with you all. That's, I think, at the core, kind of what SuperDerek as a channel here on YouTube strives to be. And maintaining that positivity during lockdown was really tough. Talking about hardest parts of doing YouTube videos, um, which is really a shame because I feel like that was a time that a lot of people needed some positivity in their lives, and that's when a lot of YouTube channels were seeing a lot of growth, and that's when I kind of started locking down myself a little bit. I can look back and I can see all kinds of missed opportunities if things had gone a little differently here or there. Would I be like David Vink, nearing in on 100,000 subscribers? David, buddy, I'm so proud of you. I'm so happy. Um, but that's the other thing. That's the other really tough thing is looking back and seeing opportunities that didn't pan out. Yeah. All right. This one comes from Tiger Castle. They say, I should really be working on 2025 YouTube goals too, but like, can I just eat my body weight in holiday food first? Stop trying to inspire me. Okay. So there was a question here. Uh, can't you try to eat your body weight in holiday food first? Yes, you can. I give you permission. Uh, go for it, Tiger. You got this. All right. So, uh, next, I've got some questions here from the YouTube comments, from the community post. From Connie says, how do you balance personal life and gaming? From your videos, I understand you have a wife and a regular job. Aren't you like super tired to play games? I have to job that takes up 8 to 12 hours a day and I work out in the mornings. Oh, good for you. I need to work out. There's a whole story about why I don't. And I haven't for a long time and some of that is fear stemming from a situation from a few years ago, several years ago now. I'll talk about it maybe sometime soon, because I feel like what we really need to have on this channel, or maybe a few more heart to hearts, you know. And they say by the time I sit down and play, my mind is just numb and I cannot focus, so I end up binge watching YouTube videos. Happy to help. I mainly play on Sunday, so I kind of talked about balance a bit, but as far as like, is it tiring to play games, or if I'm too tired to play games? Um, you got to take care of yourself, and and sometimes that means that you got to look at your work situation if possible, adjust it if possible. Because if you're too tired to enjoy, you're too tired to enjoy. And I think that that's something that I was struggling with for a while. One of the reasons that I hadn't streamed on Twitch for quite some time was because I was really tired and my body wasn't able to do things that I wanted it to be able to do. I'm able to now. This certainly wouldn't be happening right now if not for a recent trip to my doctor. Um, after I had noticed a man, there'd been a long trend in my life where I had some hyperactivity as a kid, wandering mind as an adolescent, um, hyper focus on certain things to the detriment of everything else. These are apparently in some ways symptomatic of ADHD or ADD. I just kind of went undiagnosed for a long time. I'm trying out some meds right now that have just been like lifting a weight off of my shoulders. It's given me the confidence to go ahead and start moving forward with this, to start picking back up, to really just make this channel come alive next year, guys. I'm so excited for this coming year. And I'm really excited to be streaming. I'm hoping to start streaming on Twitch before the end of this year. Like, I'm feeling pretty good. The ability to do things while I'm at work is like superhuman. Instead of having to hem and haw about this thing that I'm dreading for 10 minutes before I can bring myself into the headspace to just do the thing that takes 5 minutes to do, I can just knock it out. What is this magic? Made me relatively chatty. Speaking of which, this is a long video. I don't know if should I cut this down? Should I not? I don't know. Point is, if everything else is, as it should be in your life, if there is anything that makes you think that maybe you have ADHD, maybe you have ADD, or something else, consider talking to your doctor, and maybe you can do a trial and find out, or talk to a therapist or something. Work on you. But of course, sometimes also just after exerting yourself for 12 hours a day, it's also just normal to be tired. But if you can't enjoy the things that you enjoy, there might be something underlying to address. And that is one of many things that I definitely brought up to my doctor. Francisco says, "How is your backlog after Black Friday? They bought Unicorn Overlord, Persona 5 Royal, but no time to play them yet because they're still playing Tears of the Kingdom." I didn't buy anything this Black Friday except for, yeah, actually, all the Black Friday deals kind of sucked here. Because I'm used to secondhand game prices. So I'm like, oh, look, I can buy this game for $10 off, or I could just not. Look at all these games. My backlog is so big. I really shouldn't be collecting anymore. Um, I really shouldn't be. But I did get a new espresso machine, and I'm very, very excited to have it. It makes such a good cup. For those who want to know, it's the uh, Breville Breville Bambino. Moving up from like a little DeLonghi thing, it's so much better. Okay, sorry, that's espresso. You're asking about my backlog. My backlog is massive, and it always will be. I didn't buy anything new for Black Friday though. 5 in 7 says, "Has gaming gotten in the way of real life? As someone with ADHD," oh, hey friend, uh, "I have to set boundaries so I don't get too stuck on games and neglect life." You know, I think that maybe for a while, my ADHD had me stuck on making YouTube videos, and then that kind of shifted. Um, I have a long history of like getting really into a specific hobby for a while and then dropping it. YouTube is one of those things that kind of stuck with me uh, a long, long time. And I think it's because there's a lot of different aspects to it that all just spark some kind of joy in my head. So I don't get really too stuck into games at this point. It's the process that I get into. And sometimes it's life that I really get into. Like Amy was having a pretty rough bout of depression pretty recently, and I couldn't bring myself to like do other things because I'm like, I need to take care of my person. And that was my priority. So no, not really anything too bad for video games as of right now. Keith Beard says, "Hobbies outside of video games." I've touched on that already, so good question though. Um, if it wasn't for JRPGs, what other genre would your channel be catering to? That's an interesting question. I like beat 'em ups a lot, the video game genre and the YouTube channel. But beat 'em ups are a lot of fun. Action adventure games like Zelda kinds of games, that would definitely be up there. Um, it's just all the spectrum. So action RPGs are, very closely related, and I don't know. I just like them all. I always kind of wanted to get into shmups though, like the the space shooters and stuff, the bullet hells. I think those are so cool, but yeah, I'm not very good at them. Raf says, "What is your favorite RPG? And if you had an elemental typing, like something like Pokemon, what would it be? And dual typing is allowed." Okay, favorite RPG. This is always a tough question because, like, superlatives like this, because I overthink them all so much. This is why I generally don't do very many top tens. How can I definitively say what the top 10 of anything is when I've only played that sliver of games the size of a half moon in the middle of the night sky? Uh, that's what hangs me up so much, which is why I've been doing those really weird long names for all my top tens that I've been doing, um, or had been doing. I need to get back to those. But at least my favorite is something I should be able to answer, right? You would think. Except it also just changes based on the day, based on my mood. Like it's like saying, "What's your favorite album?" It's like, well, I don't know. Like, what's for what kind of day? Is it rainy out? Earthbound is the easy go-to because it's like that was my first, and you always remember your first. But Grandia is such an awesome sense of adventure and scale, and Justin is just such a the love story between Justin and Fina. Oh, yeah, it's so cute. Um, I kind of like those lighter-hearted RPGs. I think I could just name a bunch though, like Breath of Fire 3 sometimes, even though it it's got the right vibes for me, even though Ryu's a silent protagonist. Magic 200 says, I really enjoyed watching some of your old DIY videos. You seem like a pretty handy guy. Will we see any more videos or streams like this in the future? I would love to. In fact, I was for a while toying with the idea of making this channel sort of pivoting a little bit into making things for or from the games that I play and enjoyed playing and talk about. Things like Olivier's gun, like making that prop, or something like that. I do think that would be really cool, but also I feel like would I be just doing like a bad job of that? Like if you look at Studson Studio, oh dude, it's just such an incredible dude. He's a very inspiring YouTube channel, makes a bunch of awesome stuff out of garbage that he finds. Check it out. It's so cool. Um, or Skill Tree. I've recently discovered Skill Tree and then Nerd Forge. Bro, Nerd Forge, I want your studio. Ugh, it's so nice. Um, I I have this, and I'm very proud of it. But I would love to be able to do some like real set design, some real studio design. Um, One of the things that I'm thinking about doing is making like a fireplace in here, a little fantasy like wizard corner fireplace. Would I make a video about it though? So that's the YouTube thing, right? Like if I have a bunch of people that I'm trying to bring back to this channel for my RPG content, and they see, you know, oh yeah, I clicked here. This guy, he made really good videos about trails in the sky, and I'm here for his trails content. Okay. I put out a video carving up some foam and like turning it into a fireplace. Are you really gonna watch it? Like, are most of you gonna click that? Hell, I don't think most of you are gonna click this video, if I'm being honest. But tell me if I'm wrong. Do you want to see me build that fireplace? It adds a lot more work, but God, I opened up that window. Now that I moved that thing out of the way, I'm getting blown out by this on this camera. Um, okay. Anyways, ooh, that's warm on my back. Um, Let me know if you guys would really watch that and not just like, oh yeah, I think you should do it. It's gonna get done. Just let me know if you think it would be a video you would actually watch. Um, because I got a feeling that I can't, you know? That's one of the frustrations about YouTube. It's very seldom about what I want to do anymore, and sometimes it's just about what I think you guys would click on. It's and I think that there's some give and take here, right? I definitely want to make things that you want to see, but I also want to do the things that I want to do. And finding that overlap is where happiness can be found, right? Cody Munn Music says, that's amazing, Derek. Been following and watching your channel for the past 7 years. Thank you. And have loved your content and passion for JRPGs and games in general. Keep it up and looking forward to seeing your future videos. Okay, well that's a really nice message. Not a question for me to respond to, but I very much appreciate it, Cody. Cyrus says, good luck. It can be difficult to separate yourself from a persona you've crafted, especially after doing it for so long. You're not wrong. I hope I'm doing okay. Uh, but this is a huge first step. I hope you genuinely achieve your goals and want your community to support you wholeheartedly. Oh, thank you so much. As for a question, do you have any current inspirations that help you stay focused in life, whether in real life or online? Could it be an individual person, a group, a company, an ideal? I love knowing what drives you toward the future. I think honestly, I recently discovered Nerdforge, like I just said. And if you haven't seen I haven't watched all of their content, but what I have seen has really put that itch in the back of my head that says, "Hey, you know, your studio is pretty good, and you should probably just start making videos." But but what if you just made more studio upgrades or adjustments instead? So that's not a good inspiration, I guess, huh? um, I'm not really sure what inspires me at this point, and I think I need to think more on it. Because I don't have an immediate, easy answer that I can just say, yes, this inspires me. I guess as long as I'm making stuff that I am happy for, like that's the drive. And if I can make you happy along the way, you know, or at least give you a few moments of distraction, then it's worthwhile, I think. I guess I do have another kind of guidepost at this moment that I've been kind of leaning toward for the last few years. And that is that I want to make RPGs more accessible to more people and to make an RPG community that is accessible to more people. Gates open. Come on in. Let's make this hobby awesome, guys. We could make this such a huge hobby if we can just get over our own, neuroses sometime and just stop trying to one of the discussions that I am so frustrated by online, the discourse is like that whole thing about, oh, there's only one real way to play trails, and that's to start at Sky and work your way forward. Like, I understand that that's an ideal that some people have, but it's also just not something that a lot of people can mentally bring themselves to do. If you can, cool, but you're not everyone, you know? And some people get really upset when you point this out to say, hey, not everybody's situation is the same. Not everybody likes playing retro. Um, Not everybody likes playing on PC. That whole no true Scotsman thing that we're all doing collectively in this hobby is antithetical to me as a person. I am diametrically opposed to gatekeeping. Maybe it's because I also feel like I am on the outside of the gate, if that makes sense. And s- to hear other people say, "Oh, you haven't done such and such, you're not a real RPG fan." I can pretty definitively say, "No, that's BS." And everybody's got their own different situations in life, and I want to make sure that everybody knows you don't have to go from 0 to 100 like right away. You can start somewhere and you can build and you can add on. You can join our community. You can be a part of the JRPG fandom. You can do all of these things. Um, it's possible, and you don't have to do it all at once. The internet has sort of enforced this de facto quiet game. The first person who speaks up gets shouted down, you know? Screw that. No, wait. Fuck that. That's right. This is one of the over an hour into this. I can say that. Yeah. If you are that kind of person, um, I don't know what to say except I don't think I want you here. If you're gonna be the kind of person who is gonna like try to keep people out of this hobby, get out of here. I don't want your view. It's not worth it to me. Don't want you interacting with the chat. If you're that kind of person who's gonna just make life miserable or try to act like you're some kind of hotshot because you've played some game that nobody else has, or Do you have the right, the only source of truth? No, get out of here. Legitimately, that's not the kind of opinions that I want to see in my group. Not in my garden. I'm a weed it. And I've been doing a bit of work to remove a lot of weeds from my garden in order to cultivate the kind of plant growth, the kind of garden that I want to flourish here. And I don't know how much I can do as a content creator to make things more accessible to everybody, but I'll do what I can. And that's why recently I've been trying to make videos of like, videos for beginners. And what do I mean? What makes a game beginner friendly? Like that's why that sort of stuff cares, why I care about that and why I care about the discussion is because I want to bring more people in. I want this hobby to be huge. I want this genre to shine because it is the best video game genre or set of genres, and it is the culmination of all forms of artwork. I'm getting kind of lofty here, but I do believe that, and it is a collection of storytelling, of crafting, of writing, of modeling, and sculpting, and cinematography, and gameplay, and strategy. It is all of these things come together as the ultimate form of humanity. This is the stuff that makes us all human, and I want everybody to see this. It's art. From Nagasaki says, since I discovered your channel, you've definitely been one of my favorite JRPG and RPG channels on YouTube. I really like the way that you make reviews without then necessarily giving the game an out of 10 rating and stuff. Well, thanks. That was a very deliberate decision. Um, Again, because not all games are for all people, you, I feel like it's a very subjective experience. And instead of just saying, oh, yeah, it's a 6 out of 10, I'll say, this is an interesting game. This is who I think it's for. If you appreciate these things, you might appreciate it too. Look for the positives and spread the positives. Um, Anyways, appreciating games just for what they are is also great and something that should sometimes be prioritized more. Thanks. That's exactly my thoughts. On that note, I'd like to know, how can one become like you? To be honest, being an RPG enthusiast and game collector like yourself is kind of what I achieve to be, what I hope to achieve. But dealing with college life and life in general makes it seem nearly impossible. What was your journey, and how did you achieve balance? Whoa. Well, to to be like me. Oh, you sure you want that? um, I so I had a really good upbringing, legitimately. Like my parents were awesome. Um, and they did a lot of the work to get me to be me. Um, Starting a YouTube channel, like I said before, went a long way toward allowing me to be me as well. Uh, a lot of introspection. I've always been kind of a diplomatic. That's the word. I always had the most diplomatic answers, even at like a really young age. My parents, when I was like 2, they'd be like, "Derek, who do you love more, mommy or daddy?" And I'd be like, "I love you both equally." Um, and and that's just sort of been my thing. I guess I just don't want to rock the boat or upset people. I'm very introspective. I don't know if any of that is helpful to know. Here's the strange thing is like who I am to you is probably who different from who I am to myself, or who I am to my wife, or who I am to some other viewer here. Like we all have different perceptions of reality, and we all exist within the culmination of all of our own life experiences, right? We're experiencing You're experiencing me having had your life history, your life experience. and that's going to be different from some people, and that's going to be why some people like me and why some people don't. Um, and that's okay. If everybody liked me, that would just be weird. Somebody out there's got to dislike me, but to try to be like me, hold your opinions loosely, unless they're really important opinions, and figure out which opinions are important and which ones aren't. If we can all work on getting over our own egos, then life would be a better place. Uh, I hope I hope that that can be useful in some way. I have legitimately no idea. Felix says, "Does having a channel devoted to gaming get in the way of actually playing games? I always thought that this might be a time management issue for me if I want to run a channel." Yeah, it does actually, because especially because I wanted to stream all of my games that I played through on Twitch, and as a result, I would only play them when I had certain chunks of time available that would be worthy of a Twitch stream. Um, and as a result, I just wouldn't play. That's why I'm still playing Lufia. I even sent a query to the Discord. I have a Discord. You can find links somewhere. Um, it's relatively inactive right now. I need to figure that out the same way I need to figure out the Patreon. It's a lot of stuff is still up in the air. Anyways, yeah, it definitely can get in the way of actually playing the games. Other times, um, it can be a really good source of motivation to play those games. But that's the exception to the rule. Kill Repeat says, in response to my wanting to be less of a personality and more of a person to you all, they say, "I think that's a really extremely good idea. It does sometimes feel like you're catering to a camera instead of just hanging out." I hope that that's not really happening here. The game collection where I am presenting is definitely probably gonna, if I ever make another episode of it again, and I hope to, we'll probably still maintain very much a I am presenting and you are watching and I am the host and you are the viewer. Like there will still be some of that to it. And I think that's why I still have the presentation table so I can stand behind it and film things easily there. But when I'm here, there's nothing between you and I. We This is really meant to just be a human to human connection, or human to many humans connection, and maybe even some robots and others. I never meant for it to be less genuine. I think at some point it ended up happening when I started struggling more uh, to do those things, and instead of just being myself and just uh, letting myself have negative feelings on camera, or something, I just would put on a face. Um, so hopefully we're done with that. And if you guys, if you notice anything, let me know. It took me a long time to even realize that that might have been happening. Happy Harry Hard on says, "Have you ever gone through a time in your life where you just didn't enjoy playing video games and RPGs anymore? And if you did, how did you overcome that?" Well, I'm still overcoming that, you know? I think that I'm going to be playing soon. I'm going to be streaming soon. And it's because uh, primarily I have unfinished business with Lufia, but primarily it's because I miss you guys. I miss hanging out with my friends, my viewers, and just being connected to the community in general. And then Nova Arc says, "You gotta make a separate channel called RegularDerek RPGs." You know what? Before I start another YouTube channel, let's finish this one. Let's finish this one. Let's get this one up to speed. Let's get rolling here, guys, because I'm still sick. If you can't tell from my voice, this and even despite being sick, I still feel better now than I did a week ago. This is this is crazy. Anyway, hey, thanks for hanging out. If you did watch all of this, uh, you are one in a million, and yeah, I can't wait to really hang out and start this year proper. This next year proper. I've still got some more work to do around here, though. You know, I gotta get things sorted, and I think ultimately I'm gonna need to make a video that's not just an AMA, but some sort of all-encompassing, maybe a reintroduction to SuperDerek and what that means for this channel. Because I don't even know what that means just yet. I really want to hit the ground running. I want to make this really work. And with you, I think we can do it. Have a great day, everybody.